Good morning, good morning, good morning. Buenos dias, mi gente yo-yo. Welcome to Daily Discipline number 607, primarily in a row. My name's Rob Hoback. Happy that you're here, honored and humbled that you keep coming back like for reals. Hey, it's Monday. It's a Mamba Monday, which is our reminder to go get it, right? On Mamba Mondays, I like to pretend that when I want to quit, right, when I'm like, oh, I've had enough for the day, I'm like that Kobe Bryant himself was here, like, Rob, what are you doing? Right? You've got a couple more and let's go. And just trying to instill that, make that part of my culture, right? That we don't give up. Again, easier said than done. And I'm not saying that never do I give up. I give up all the time, right? Let's just not make any. I'm not trying to be somebody that I'm not. But every day I remind myself, like, stop quitting, right? Go a little bit farther. All right, 6/15/20 is the date. It's a work day for me. I'm sure you got work to do too. So let's do it first thing first. Still the realist. You know, also, I'm home. And the more I'm at home, the more I don't want to leave my home. Yeah, the more I'm like customizing my house, the backyard's my hillbilly oasis. It's awesome. And every time people come over here, they're like, wow. Like, yeah, I spend a lot of time out there, a lot of time, a lot of energy. It's just interesting to me how things have worked out to where it's kind of like the market's coming to me as a guy who's been working at home for a couple of years. All right, moving on to real talk. Are your expectations realistic? Yesterday, 3 conversations with 3 different groups of people. All 3 of them, I felt myself getting upset and disappointed. Like, really? And then I challenged myself, like, well, what are you upset about? Like, well, you had unrealistic expectations, right? You went into this thinking that everything was going to be perfect and it was going to be amazing. And then it was just life, right? Right? You're talking to somebody and you're like, why am I not surprised this is what's coming out of your mouth, right? And so, yeah, I think, are your expectations realistic? I see what's going on in the sports world and everything right now. And people trying to, like, you've got a group of guys that are saying, hey, the NBA should just not play right now. And personally, I think that's a horrible idea, right? I think that's just going to anger more people than it'll bring some attention to the movement, about the social injustices that are going on right now or have been for years. But that's my personal opinion, right? I just think that people have unrealistic expectations. Like, we're just going to have this little period of time here where all of a sudden we put all this focus on it and then it's just going to get better. But like, no, this is like any other relationship that requires healing. It's going to take some time, right? The other thing that I just want to touch on briefly is that, in the last couple of weeks, it's come out that LeBron James and Russell Westbrook separately are both going to be doing documentaries on the Tulsa race massacre, which was profiled on 60 Minutes last night. So we've been talking about it for a couple of years. Again, in the same period of time, you had these Tulsa race massacre and the Osage Indian thing that were, again, 50 miles away from each other. And you have these awful social injustices where people that look like me have just taken advantage of other people and with a bunch of hate in their heart because they were jealous that other races of people were doing better than them, making more money. There was some luck, there was maybe some payback, all those things. Just, are your expectations realistic? A few hundred years of injustice and inequality aren't going to be solved in like 30 days. And it's not just we can't just like throw a check at it and issue a press release. It's going to take work, right? And all of us have to be realistic with our expectations. We have to understand that some people are just going to play nice and then they're going to revert back to being a racist, whether they're whatever side of the fence that they're on. We all have that hate inside of us, right? We just have to address it and say, not here. And then we have to start from our house out, right? Like, we don't need to each one of us try to, start a global movement. Like, there's already a movement, right? And so all we need to do is teach our kids and our family, and we need to speak in love and not speak in hate, things like that. All right, let's get to our thank yous. Number one, God is good. God's been good to us in the good times and the bad. We appreciate everything he's done for us, all of our blessings, the grace that has been showed to us. Thankful for 60 Minutes for doing that, special on Black Wall Street and, the Greenwood District and all of that. I feel like we're just going to hear more and more about that. As I talked about earlier, you got LeBron James a few weeks ago. He moved out to LA so that he could do production work and be in the movie business. And he's already said, I'm doing a documentary on that. And then Russell Westbrook came out a couple weeks ago. And so here's what I'm saying is that it's going to be uncomfortable, right? They were talking on 60 Minutes. You had black folk. They're like, look, I, as a black person, one guy was saying, hey, I went to OU. I'm at University of Oklahoma. They're talking about this race massacre, and he raised his hand like, "Yo, I'm from Tulsa. There isn't a rich black neighborhood there." And the guy's like, "You're right, because it was destroyed." And so here's this guy telling, he's like, "I didn't even know about it, right? Like nobody told me that story till I got to college. I'd never heard that story till I got down here. I was appalled, right? And then I hear the story about the Indians. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell, right? And I just feel like I'm not the only one that feels like that, and that the further we go along, the more people are going to hear about this. And then you get people like LeBron that say, hey, I'm going to take my resources and my platform, and I'm going to make sure that story gets told, right? And again, that's part of the healing process. I'm thankful for Uncle Jay that came to visit us last night. It's just so good to see him. Hadn't seen him in a couple of years. We got to see our life and spend some time with my kids, and I just love him. It was awesome. It was great to see him. And I'm thankful for my kids, right? We had a great weekend. You know, they'll go home here in a couple hours. Jack will go to school, but feels like every time we spend time with each other, we just figure each other out a little bit more. And we're cooking with gas down here. So with that, we're done for today. Hands up, peace out, we're better together. I appreciate you stopping by on Mamba Monday. We'll be back tomorrow on a 2 for Tuesday, or a terrific Tuesday, or a taco Tuesday. We'll be back tomorrow on Tuesday. Hashtag Real Talk. Deuces. Love you guys. See ya.